We all knew it was rigged. And it's a sickness, my friends. Look, I'm not here to rag on people who play simple games, play within their means. Games are fun. Sports betting is fun. But the expansion of this stuff is opening up massive vulnerabilities for people to get ripped off. Shout out to FBI Director Kash Patel for amazing work in this sports betting sting operation. Bro, NBA gambling investigation live updates. Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, Terry Rozier arrested as part of separate schemes. Not only this, but you already know where I'm going with this one. Poker, run by the mob, rigged. And I got to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you watch Timcast or Timcast IRL, you would not have fallen victim to these schemes, unfortunately. Now, I can't do anything about sports betting, for sure. But come on, you watch these videos that people are posting around of Terry, how do you pronounce his name, Rozier? And it's like fumbling the ball, missing every shot. People are like, there's no way you can play this bad. And more importantly, why would he stay in the game playing as miserable as he is? Because the whole thing was rigged. And the crazy thing is, I got to be honest, they're exposing all of this right now. They're doing this press conference. Yo, what's crazy about it is they could have done a much better job of getting away with it. But you get greedy, and that's the problem. You wonder why it is that somebody's got a scheme where they make a lot of money and they get caught. And it's because if they were smart, they wouldn't be doing these kinds of things. They'd make money other ways. Check this out from the New York Times. Portland head coach Chauncey Billups and Miami's Terry Rozier arrested. Actually, I want to play this video for you. Here you go. This is really, really fun. People are saying there's no way someone could play this bad.
And the meter's still running, and still going.
This one right here. Watch. Okay, hold on. Check this out. Okay. He throws the ball and immediately starts running back.
Rozier turned it over again.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
And Rozier off the DHO. And he turned it over.
Turn it over again.
But you don't want to play it too soon, especially against the Miami Heat. I can tell you, hey, you don't like playing in Miami? Yeah.
Short.
Down to 3, they got to get busy. Rozier with a 9-1-1 comes up short.
Some of these I think he actually just missed, to be honest.
Rozier contested 3 is short. The ultimate teammates and sacrifice.
Wow, dude.
Rozier on the show and go. That all year. Empty corner 2-man game. Rozier with a
I gotta say,
Anderson with a rebound. Rozier relocates for another try. Boy, that was awfully short.
yeah, because it was intentional, right? I gotta say this, right? We were betting on the Super Bowl, and I bet on the coin toss because that's what I think is funny, And they have like bets for the color of the Gatorade, which is really dumb because somebody knows the color of the Gatorade. It's just the weirdest bets, right? But what's crazy is for the longest time, people have said that major league sports or, whatever you want to call it, they're rigged because they want to maximize the amount of commercials they can get. They want to maximize the amount of the tickets they can sell. So they want every game to be neck and neck. And people don't trust it. We got this. According to the indictment, Jones sold or tried to profit from non-public information so others could bet on it, including Ernest and Fairley. It was about who would not be playing or if they would pull themselves out of games early. Before the February 9th, 23 Lakers game against the Bucks, Jones texted an unnamed co-conspirator that a player was out and they should bet the Bucks. It's wild, dude. The player was not on the injury report yet. He also gave information on the 23-24 Lakers, including player 4, who the DOJ said was one of the Lakers' best players that season. I wonder who that could be. Let me see if I can pull up some more. There's so much going on right now with this news. Portland Trailblazers tied to Mafia. Yo, this is just such crazy stuff, man. How many of you got ripped off on this? Listen, and we can talk all day and night about gambling, and I got to tell you, man, I am a poker player. I play poker all the time. I love poker, but I always play low stakes. I play within my means. Well within my means. You may have seen me play on the Lodge stream playing 510, and I got crushed. I don't like playing at those 5K buy-in is just, it's merciless, okay? I don't know how people do this. And I got invited recently to a much higher stakes game. So I'm like, guys, I don't do this, okay? I like playing poker. I like playing 2-5. It's not the lowest of stakes, but it's a little bit higher so you can get some real action and some actual gameplay. But what I tell you, man, I see people come into these rooms and they're playing beyond their means and they should not do it. You should not do it. Don't do it, okay? Poker needs good players. It's great to play a game. It's fun. It's a battle of wits. You're trying to read the other player. You can goof off. It's great. Operation Royal Flush. What an amazing name. But man, I see people come into these casinos, dude, and you don't do it. Don't do it. It's funny, there's this guy, Mickey Mace. He's a famous gambler, and he's like, don't gamble. It's a bad idea. And he's correct. Don't gamble. Now, people, if you don't understand poker, poker is a skill game, which does involve a certain amount of chance for sure. But you don't gamble. Just don't do it. And I mean that. This is what ends up happening because everybody wants the edge over you. So apparently now what's going on is you got these rigged games, 34 defendants, 2 indictments, 13 members of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families, according to Christopher Raya, assistant director of the FBI's New York field office. Jones is 49. He played 11 NBA seasons, spent years following his career as both assistant coach and personal shooting coach for LeBron James when James rejoined. We get it. Let's jump over to ABC, see what they got on this breakdown. So they say also, Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups, he's been charged, this we know. He's in his 5th season as head coach, was arrested in Oregon, where he's expected to make an initial court appearance. Poker games were allegedly rigged in favor of those running the games, using advanced technology such as rigged shuffling machines and even X-ray tech. I don't believe the X-ray stuff. I don't believe that. Sounds fake to me. Because let me tell you, we have something that's called an RFI, radio frequency identification table. We have playing cards that have chips in them. Yeah, they're really thin chips in the cards. So when you're watching Hustler Casino Live or the Lodge Poker streams or the World Series of Poker, they'll deal the cards to everybody. They'll look at them, and then instantly on the screen, it'll show you what cards they have. That's because there is a reader where they're sitting that scans the 2 cards they receive, uploads them, and then shows you. You don't need X-rays. All you need to do, and here's the thing, they're saying X-ray. They also mentioned the RFID. Here's how it worked. They would get former pros and professionals to come to private poker games where you are invited to play. It's like, don't you want to come play with some famous celebrity, some famous athlete? And you're like, whoa, I'm getting invited. And you cannot win. This is really nuts because researchers exposed these auto shufflers, the Deckmate 2 shuffler, it's called, years ago. And now the Mafia pro athletes were using this tech for the past couple of years to rip people off. Let me tell you, man, I feel bad for these fish, they call them. As the saying goes in poker, if you don't know who the fish is at the table, it's you. ABC News says Christopher Raya, assistant director in charge of FBI's New York field office, called it a massive nationwide takedown. Billups coached the Trailblazers in their offseason, blah, blah, blah. So we got more here, right? So these guys allegedly passed insider information to co-defendants. This is crazy because of how all involved it is. Like, you've got these guys they were using straw bettors. So they'd tell their network, hey, go make bets on this ridiculous thing. Throw the games, screw up intentionally, even in weird ways. Then the straw bettors would collect the money, shuffle it through third-party systems to clean it, and send it back, which is stupid. Why you got to be so greedy? You can make... don't do this, but I'm saying they could have made us... you know what? That's the problem. They're greedy. They want to heist. They want to rip people off. You could live like a king, sports betting, with insider information where you're never going to get caught. But when you have a bunch of people launching straw bets, and then you're also with the Mafia launching these fake games, like, why would you? This is crazy. You know, guys, let me tell you. If you are running a poker room, and they're illegal in New York so long as you don't take a rake, you can have private poker games. They got these really beautiful penthouses, and people love to play. They play high stakes, the toots of millions of dollars. You go to a guy who's got decent net worth and say, we got some pros who are playing a game. Why don't you come hang out and play? You don't need to rip those people off. You don't need to cheat. You can just be good at poker and you'd win. That's what's crazy. You're inviting unskilled players to a game where you're enticing them to come with athletes. All you got to do is have some good players at the game. You're going to win. It's a skill game. Hands down. Most of I consider myself to be a winning player. but I don't play like crazy numbers, so it's a couple $100 weird. I have my down. You know, I sometimes I'll leave down, but usually I do fairly well at low stakes. You got to understand people, I guess. You can be good at the game and you can win money. Go to any poker room, sit down, and you will see guys that have massive stacks of chips, and you're like, these guys know how to play the game. They know who they're targeting, and they know how to win. That's why people play. It's crazy that these people got so greedy. They say last year for Toronto Raptors, Jonte Porter pleaded guilty to wire fraud, received a lifetime NBA ban. Let me show you this stuff, guys. This is a video from Wired. This is what's his name? Andy Greenberg, is that his name? Why his name's not on here? Why aren't they putting his name on here? I think that's his name, but they don't show his name. So anyway, a couple of years ago, is this the same article that they're linking on themselves? Because there should be an article for this, right? A couple of years ago, these researchers at DEF CON, the hacking convention, figured out how to use what's called a Deckmate 2 shuffler. So let's start from the beginning. All casinos, almost all casinos, don't hand shuffle cards at all their table games, blackjack, poker, etc. Table games and social poker are very, very different games. So that's why people don't understand. They think poker is you sit at a table and you're playing against the house. No. Social poker, we call it, is when the house will have a dealer. They take a rake. Either it's called time rake or it's pot rake. That means they're either taking a piece of the money out of the total pot in the middle, or every half an hour you pay a fee for the dealer for their time and for the casino. Very, very different games. There is a company called, I think it's Shuffle Master. There's a couple different, and they make the shuffling machines for a variety of different games. You'll sit down at a blackjack table, and there's a big black box, and they put a stack of 6 to 8 decks in it. It goes in, shuffles them all up, spits out another stack. They put it in the shoe. You play blackjack. Some casinos, like the one near me, they actually do hand shuffle as well. These machines can be programmed to order a deck any way they want. But typically when you're dealing with a regulated casino, you don't have to deal with it. Casino makes money. They don't need to rip you off by rigging the machine because they're already ripping you off by you gambling in the first place. So they can hand shuffle blackjack cards. The games are all rigged in their favor, and everybody knows it's called the house edge. Do you want to play against them? You can choose. So here's the thing. These companies also make something called a Deckmate. This is a social poker shuffling machine where you can take a deck of cards like this that we actually have here. These are PVC cards. You stick in the machine, and it will automatically shuffle them. Then it spits out, so you put in one deck, it spits out the other. The dealer will cut it and deal it out. The reason why they do this is to prevent card tracking and card manipulation. Let me just tell you how ridiculously easy it is to stack a deck using rudimentary tricks. One of the most basics is just card tracking. And so you can see the ace of spades on the bottom. You can do an overhand shuffle, do it really, really quickly, and then you can set it up so that your third card, of course, is going to be your ace of spades. Very, very easy tricks to pull off. And you do this because you can stack the deck. Bro, I'm not even good at this stuff. But there are pros that can rig it. So you look up Jason Ledaney, I think his name is, one of the best card trackers in the world, in my opinion. Hand shuffles rigged. So what they do is this. You buy the shuffle machine. You put the cards in. It shuffles it. You can't see it, right? Then the dealer will cut one time and deal the cards out to prevent cheating. However, the company came out with something called the Deckmate 2. And this, again, a lot of people are saying, like, what is all about, Tim? What does that have to do with the sports betting? This is actually what they're accused of doing in this story. That's why this is so crazy. So Wired did this cheating thing with, let me play a little bit for you. Get some audio on here.
Can in fact let a player cheat in a real game of poker, as you'll see in a moment.
It's a crazy little hand.
I reached out to the company again to see if they had fixed their security flaws in the 2 years since they were revealed. This time, a spokesperson for Light & Wonder responded and said they've now patched those security flaws in virtually every shuffler in use in casinos today by updating their firmware. But Joseph was still skeptical. After all, the machines have no mechanism to receive software updates over the internet.
They would need a technician to go and apply a firmware update. Now, maybe that happened. They could also just be implying that they disabled the USB port, but in reality, we could use the Ethernet port. There's a number of ways to pull this off. And even if they do that, that does not fix the issue of a maintenance person pulling this off. Because once you have access to the internals, it's kind of game over.
All right. So let's break this down. Guys, This is massive, okay? This is Wired Magazine. They got 500,000 views on this. The researchers published this 2 years ago. To hear that former athletes in the Mafia was using this technique is crazy, especially considering homie just said the company claims to have fixed this. They didn't. He's correct. Now, here's how it works. The back of this machine has a USB port and an Ethernet port. Oh man, this combines so much of what I love, cybersecurity and poker. You can take a small USB device and plug it in. It'll rewrite the machine, and it will then, there's a camera inside. The camera inside is supposed to be so that when you put a deck in, all right, so let me slow down. For the Deckmate 1, the original machine, if a card was missing, the machine knows and says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards missing. It'll give you an error. It doesn't tell you which cards are missing. With the Deckmate 2, they put a camera in it so that when the cards were being shuffled, it would say cards that are missing: Ace of Spades, 7 of Diamonds, King of Hearts. You then knew exactly, very easily, call the floor over, pit boss, whatever you got, and say, we need these cards. They then come, no joke, in a baggie with it numbered, and they bring you those individual cards, or they just bring you a whole new deck. Here's what happens. Because the machine can track the cards by the actual number and value of the cards, these researchers were able to hack it so that it could transmit through the USB or Ethernet Bluetooth information to a mobile phone, telling them exactly what the order of the deck was going to be. Now, people often say to me, because I've told them this story, we talked about this years ago. Yes, but the dealer cuts the deck one time. How can it track that? Cutting the deck one time doesn't change the order of the cards. It just takes a chunk and moves it. So all that matters is that the computer knows what 2 cards are next to each other. Once you receive your cards, you punch it into the app, it tells you the entire order of the deck. It's going to tell you who's going to win. That's what they were doing. This is crazy. Now, the funny thing is, in this Wired research, I don't think these guys are big poker players. Maybe the researcher started playing recently, because what he said was, in a hand, when you're dealt cards, you're not allowed to use your phone. True. Because what some people do is they'll seek advice on proper play techniques, or if people don't understand their basics in poker, there's something called pre-flop game theory optimal ranges. I'm using a little bit of jargon there. The general idea is, are the 2 cards you just received at the beginning of the game worth playing? And any good player basically has memorized their percentages, and they know exactly from what position, what hand is good and what isn't. Players that aren't will look on the internet and try and figure it out. It happens not all that often, but sometimes newer players will look at their phone and try and look up information, and people say you can't do that. It's actually cheating to try and figure out the math unless you actually know it. That's why it's a skill game, right? So here's the thing. In this video, he says you need to signal to somebody else. So here's what they do. I think the guy's name is Andy Greenberg. I could be wrong. They all get their cards. This is how they cheat. And the guy who has the app looks down at his 2 cards, folds them, then goes to the app. Now that he's out of hand, he can use his phone. He types in the name of the cards, or the name of the cards. He types in what cards he got. He now knows whether or not Andy, his friend, is going to win this hand. So what does he do? He uses 1, 2, or 3 chips to signal. If the guy on the right is fumbling with 3 chips, that means raise. If he's fumbling with 2 chips, that means call. And I think 1 chip means fold. I can't remember exactly how they did it. I think this is actually much, much, much more convoluted. Why? Guys, I'm going to be real with you. At most casinos, everybody's got their phones open and they're watching shows, and you're not supposed to use the phone, but you can sort of a little bit. So here's what would happen, in my opinion. If you were sitting at a table and someone had hacked one of these Deckmate machines, it would transmit the data to a third party. What you then have is people wear headphones at the poker table all the time. They're wearing headphones, and then here's how the original game was supposed to be played. The cheating. Someone sits at a table nearby on their phone. The machine sends them the deck order, but they don't know the cut. The person sitting down at the table can be wearing Bluetooth headphones, and they can look down at their cards, and they can use code words to transmit the information of the cards to the person on their phone. Or, even better, the person can look down at their hand, and if their hand is playable in any meaningful way, even if it's not very good, just playable, call the bet or raise or whatever. When the flop comes out, that information is public to anyone, which means someone sweating the table can just type in the flop boom, they know exactly who's going to win. And then they can say over the AirPods, you're going to win or you're going to lose. Or you'll be strong until the river, but they'll win. You can try and bluff them out. Things like that. This is basically what was happening with these former pros in these Mafia-run games. Now, here's the best part. Years ago, we talked about this on Timcast IRL. When the research was done, I had been telling people, I've mentioned on this show, and I know, a lot of you are like, this is where the news, cybersecurity, and poker intersects. Just throw skateboarding on top, and bro, you've got me captured. I had been saying the Deckmate 2 machines have been compromised, and you don't know if you can trust them. And there have been a lot of people who have said something seems fishy about a lot of these games. Here's what's really sad. I got to be honest. At these games that they were doing in New York, where the Mafia was running, ripping people off, the reason why I said you don't need to use this machine to cheat and rip them off is because anybody who wasn't aware that was happening is a bad player as it is, and you don't need it. Let me explain something. I was in Florida. I was playing at a casino, and within 2 hands, I realized there were 3 people running a game. And so I got up and left because I'm not stupid. And if you're a good player, you get it. If you've played enough poker to where you have even a moderate level of skill, we can call this, some people call it ABC poker, where you play strong hands and it's just very rudimentary. Oh, look, I got ace king, I'll make a bet. Then there's something called game theory optimal. But if you know the basics of it, you're likely going to spot a con right away. So most of you who don't know, I'll explain how this is a wild story, at least in my opinion. So let's say, I'll tell you my story. I sat down at a table. The first thing you want to do if you're really trying to win money and be good is you don't play you don't play for at least an orbit or 2. This is like serious nit stuff. Nit means you're playing very tight. You really don't want to lose. You're waiting for only the best hands. The idea is you want to get a feel for how other people are playing. And when it goes to showdown and they show their cards, they don't always do this. You can learn about the kind of cards a person will choose to play and how they'll choose to play them. This will allow you to play more effectively against them when you understand what they're doing, which is why a lot of top players say never show. No matter what happens, if you don't have to show your cards, don't. So that means if you win the hand by the player folding, you muck your hand. It just slide it away so nobody can see what you had. I sit down at a table, and instantly I notice something interesting. There's a guy here. So you have 9 players at a table. A guy over here in seat 1 makes a bet. The next person calls the bet. The next person jams all in instantly, which is it's not super weird. Seeing it happen one time is no big deal, depending on the amount of chips that a person has. Going right from a $20 raise to a $300 all in, I was like, wow. The only problem, every single time, you'd see the player in seat 1 make a bet. If nobody between players 1 and 6 would call, player 6 would not jam all in. Then it would go around, and this kept happening. What they were doing was it's running a table with a squeeze play. Here's how it works. You sit at a table and you have your friend you want to be between you and you. So there's 9 seats. You want seats 1 and maybe seats 5. That way, half the players are between you on one side and half the players are between you on the other side. As the dealer button goes around, what one of the players will do running the game, and you can do it with 2 or 3 people, is you will open the pot, it's called, by making a bet. So it's a 1-2 game. It's a $2 initial bet. You will say, I raise to $20, which is a little high, but not super uncommon at these lower stakes tables. Your targets are in between your friend and you. Some guy says, I'm going to bet $20. A call. We call this a cold call. It means they put in money that was raised without having money in the pot previously. Typically what happens in games, you'll often get squeezed, meaning you've displayed a weak hand, you didn't raise. I feel like you're weak and I can scare you because I'm in a later position, so I'll raise against you, hoping you will fold, and we'll go only what's called heads up, me versus one other person. They kept doing it. The strategy and the manipulation, someone makes a raise with a bad hand. Someone in between will then call. Then one other person will jam all in to force them to give up their money. Now you may be saying, yeah, but Tim, hold on. What if he doesn't have the best hand? That's the name of the game. No matter what happens, even if you have aces, If someone's got a pair of pocket aces, the best hand in the game, you have an 83% chance of beating the other person in front of you. But what if there are 3 people in hand, meaning you and 2 others? Your chances of winning now falls to slightly below 50%, depending on the hands the other players have. If they've got ace, king, kings, queens, you still have a really high chance of winning. So what the game is you set 2 or 3 people at the table. Anytime someone tries to play, the 3 of you jam against them, and you give yourselves in your team 60 to 70% chance of winning, a massive edge. Now, you won't win every single hand, but you'll win almost all of them. Your team will. Then at the end of the night, you split your money. The point is, any reasonable player with skill is going to recognize these cons. If I sat down at a table and I noticed that people of moderate skill were pulling off ridiculous hands, were calling stupid bets, I'd say, no. I ain't playing this game no more. So let me give you examples that pertain to this Mafia stuff, and then we'll wrap this one up because I could go on for a million years about this. There was a famous hand between 2 people at Hustler Casino Live. It spawned the name of a hand called the Robbie. This guy had 8-9 suited, which is it's a nice hand, but it can lose to a 10, a jack, a queen, a king, an ace. It just typically won't, and the reason why is he bets with 8-9. He gets what's called a good flop. The first 3 cards come out. I believe he got an open-ended straight flush draw, giving him tremendous odds to win the hand. The other player, this woman, had one of the worst possible hands you could imagine, Jack 4 offsuit. However, the Jack is a higher card than a 9. So if that's all you had, she'd win, right? Well, how the hell do you make it to the end of a hand of poker betting hundreds of thousands of dollars with a hand that bad? It made no sense. So when it went to showdown and he had missed his draw, meaning all he had was a 9, she flips over a Jack high. It's called a Jack high hero call, and she won. Instantly, people were like, no way that's possible. Because if you had Jack 4, you have no pairs, you have no chance of drawing, you can't win the hand, your equity, it's called, your chance of winning is single digits, and someone that's $100,000, you fold. Unless someone's feeding you information so you would know you'd win no matter what. If you were an inexperienced player, you wouldn't realize why that's suspicious. But if you're a pro, you'd know right away that's impossible. So with this Mafia game they were running, if you sat down at the table, if I sat down at the table and this player called, I made a massive 3-bet, we would say, and they called with a middling hand and ended up winning, I'd say, okay, hold on there a gosh darn minute. Now, it's not impossible, but if this happens more than a handful of times, I'm walking away because you're playing the odds. And if for some reason the odds are against you, you stop. That's at least what you're supposed to do. Now, I don't want to rant too much. Obviously, I love poker, and this is combining, as I mentioned, all the things that I really love. This is really crazy. I'm not a big fan of sports betting. I'm not a big fan of casinos. I play Magic the Gathering. I like playing strategy games, and poker is a simple way to do it. But excellent work to the FBI. Amazing takedown of these illegal games. It's great for the game. It's great for NBA. This means that you guys know your games aren't going to be rigged because they're taking out these nasty dudes. I'm going to wrap it up there. Smash the like button. Share the show. Stay tuned. We got more to come throughout the day, and we'll see you all in the next segment.